Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and this is the chat we gave that is later on converted into a podcast that's on Spotify and on Apple. It's also on YouTube, heavily restricted. Can't get it translated to another language for 24 hours. I'm very tired of all of the monitoring and controlling and all of the threats. I've been threatened to not continue to do chats in English. Oh well. Yeah, I'm tired of it, the whole thing, but here I am, ever ready bunny, ready to deliver what's expected of me. Let's go over the maps. They look really good. Really, really good. I haven't done this for several days. Let's go over the map of the United States. At the top, we have Canada flatlined a long time ago, and that line is the flatlining. There's a heart in the center of the United States. There's two Merkabahs, two levels of Galactic Federation protection and creating stability. It's like if you throw a shirt up in the air and then it'll fall down in a little, not puddle, but a little pile, that shirt. If you put a hanger in the shirt and you throw it up in the air, it won't be quite that much of a little mess on the ground because the hanger will give the shirt structure. In this case, the Merkabah, the Star of David, which is a talisman that you're seeing, gives structure in the other dimensions, which creates an incredible level of protection against frequencies that could change things from one minute to the other. It's tremendous protection. So there's a heart in the center of the United States. Florida looks great. The part of Texas that I say belongs to Elon looks great. And then I got the words DeSantis is out. I have no idea what that is. I like the man. He's created a lot of stabilities for Florida, but it doesn't really matter what I like and I don't like. I'm not, my training is I have to simply say or sketch what it is that I see. Why is DeSantis out? I have no idea. From Mexico, which is not on this map, but it's the lower left corner, there is the energy of love and gratitude towards the United States and towards Trump. And it has to do with the dealing with something that Mexico was never able to deal with, which were the cartels. That's nice. Now, if you ask people who look at the news, they will tell you that, what is she, the president of Mexico, is at Trump's throat. Don't believe everything you see, obviously. Um, it's got to be a little bit embarrassing for somebody from another country to come in and take care of something that your country has not been able to take care of. But there we go with the theme of some people are simply more equipped to work with this new cycle that we are entering. Trump is the person I'm talking about right now. And a lot of that has to do with what has been hinted about, talked about, and what I know that is as it is. If you work with the aliens, that the good ones that are supervising this planet and cannot do things for us, but can help in ways which I really couldn't describe right now. Um, if you work with those ETs, you become a lot more powerful. You get a guidance that gives you a level of wisdom that you will not have if you didn't have that guidance. And Trump apparently has that. Um, I take it as a fact. You can just leave it suspended in the air. So here I'm going to do a little self-promoting. I am completely turning around what it is that I'm doing in terms of my teaching and sharing. And up till now, my main emphasis has been on purification and repair of traumas that lower our frequencies in our individual assemblage of bodies, our auras, or in our countries. And a lot of times we pitch in when there's issues, and we work with balancing the elements and moving stuff that needs to be moved so that there is not such a tremendously aggressive natural disaster or an accumulation of rage, such as there was in Washington when they tried to impeach Trump. Moving that energy, which is the element of fire, the people that were trying to impeach Trump no longer had the vitality. They weren't getting vitalized by the excess fire, which creates hate, etc. When we cleared a lot of the fire under the place where the impeachment was being held, which we did it on a Saturday, and I'm very proud of me and my group for this. And at that point, we really didn't know if we could make a difference, but we were going to do it anyway. It was a Saturday night. And then on Monday, the man in charge of the impeachment had so little fire to feed off of in the environment of whatever building it was that he fell asleep in the middle of the impeachment. I don't remember what the name of the politician was, but he had been in a rage, ready to kill, with a knife in each hand and a grenade in each pocket because of the level of excess fire and hatred that he had. We reduced the fire in the environment, and he no longer was being vitalized by something that was taking him to a very ugly place. And I know that we made a difference in the impeachment. We did not interfere with anybody's free will. We worked on the environment to balance the elements, not to favor an element or to take out an element, but to balance them. For that, we had to reduce the fire, and we did. And I was very pleased with the results. So that's the United States. And I did this 20 minutes ago. Then I decided to do Greenland. Well, there is a Merkaba, which is a talisman on Greenland. But that's not what's really interesting. Greenland is a portal to Middle Earth. Well, Middle Earth is Harry Potter. And I looked it up on the internet, but I'm not sure that I'm not going to even get into that. I can read you a couple of statements. Um, it's a fictional continent, a mythological past version of Earth. So here we go with what I tell all my followers. Mythology, the reason we're obliged to study mythology is because it's part of our history. But the modern people, or the people that want us to dumb us down, say that that is fantasy, but you got to study it anyway. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. So in Harry Potter, it is a mythological past version of Earth. What it's going to end up really being, that portal that's in Greenland, that it very soon, if not already, will be a part of the United States where it will be protected and taken care of. Um, it's something that's coming up anyway for the planet. And the trick of the matter is for it to come out, up, get revealed in a way that's systematic and that does not destroy stability, which I suspect that Trump is going to be able to do that again. I tell you, I am very impressed with what it is that Trump is doing, the level at which he works, and even more impressed at the fact that he's doing things that are metaphysical in nature, such as understanding that Greenland is important, having to do with the planetary history. And it doesn't, he may use the excuse of war, and there may be something to that, but the real issue is not that. The real issue is, I believe what I saw in one of my chats, which was that the North Pole was flowering like a lotus flower, which means it was opening up. So we'll see where it is that goes. I sketched the Caribbean because it was on the map, and I was drawn to that. And the word I put there is caliente, which means hot. And look at all the red squiggly lines. And the big issue is who is going to control Cuba. And of course, they're already saying that Marco Rubio is going to end up being the president of Cuba. I don't think so. I don't think anybody in Cuba is going to want the Cubans that left, okay, and have created havoc, holding hands with the Vatican, created havoc in US politics, abandoned the country, are not really interested in the Cubans that are in Cuba, but are interested in power. But it's interesting because Cuba is now a hotspot. And as I said before, the cartels were trying to figure out where they were going to do business safely. And they had identified Cuba as a place, and they had weaponized the last hurricane. I think the name was Melissa. We worked on reducing the potential damage that Melissa could do by reducing the energy behind Melissa, and it didn't not do as much damage as they thought it would do in Cuba, which would have given the cartel, like, in all that chaos, they could have come in. I don't know what's going on politically other than what I just sketched, which is it's a mess and everybody wants to control it. And I find that interesting. Cuba's supposedly really close to where Atlantis went under. I don't know if that's true or not. Not important at this point. Um, I'm more curious as to what the hell happened to DeSantis. If he's honestly, he has done a really good job, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. That's what came up on the map. So I put it out because that is whoever it is that guides me. They feel that that's important that it be known. So maybe somebody's taking DeSantis down because he's been too powerful and because he's not going to allow funny business. I have no idea. I didn't get that information. So let me continue on. I figured out what clones are. So here we go. With these four people, three of them have their left eye obviously impaired. And then Macron has his right eye. This is part of the process of cloning. On the left side of our head, we have a portal, which is the first portal that we have in our system that connects with off planet. And the left eye is connected to our spirit body. And it has to do with emotions, where everybody's traumatized at this point on the planet because of this change of cycle, whatever. And if you look at people that take cocaine and where their face is completely different after they've been on cocaine for 3 months, 6 months, a year, who knows? It's generally the left side of the face. If you look at dozens of photographs, it's almost always the left side of the face that's the most impacted because those really bad spirits come in from the left. So you know that I've been dealing with, and I don't have the sketch here. I've been dealing with the Vatican, who is unhappy that I have identified one of their major hospital in Miami, in the morgue, as a place where they do satanic rituals. And I'm sure they haven't stopped or they moved it someplace else. But I believe they do the cloning there also. And I know there's a place here in Coconut Grove where they do the cloning because I witnessed part of that several months ago. I just did not know what I was seeing. So what is it that I learned about cloning? Because of it was happening to me, the process of working on my left eye, which I have several photographs when I'm chatting to where you can see that there's like a veil on my left eye. And my left eye is generally smaller. It's 1,000 times better now. I don't think they're getting to where they want to get, which would be to push my essence out of my assemblage of bodies, and then somebody else's essence comes in. By the way, it would be in the third eye, in what is called the La Silla Turca, which is an indentation, which is where the pineal is close to there, and it looks like a chair. It actually looks like this chair where the devil sits. So when they push you out, your consciousness, your third eye is taken over by someone else, the devil, another spirit, and that's the command center of your life. So when they're doing the cloning, what they're doing is they're coming in from the left, um, and they're pushing something out. So you continue with the physical body. The physical body is not gone. The person is not, their physical body is not dead, but your physical body is the least important part of you. When you die, it returns to earth. There's no life. When you have anesthetics, there's no life in your physical body. So they're pushing out of the physical body, which is a vehicle, an envelope of consciousness. They're leaving that intact. The person is going to look different, and they're, when they look at you, they're going to be different, and their decisions will be different. And what I saw in myself was the second body that we have, which is the etheric, which is like this. It's a Higgs field, but in the shape of our human body. And it was here. It was stuck, halfway stuck into my head. And the reason my eye looks fine now is because I got this pulled out. Now, this is being done in the Vatican. It was done in one of their dungeons underneath the Vatican. But when I was looking there, I ran into one of the heads of one of the countries in Europe that they have done this to, except they succeeded. They completed the process. And one of the things that happens is that you become a lot more clumsy because you're not really fully, you're not occupying your physical body fully. But until people can understand that this that is on screen right now is all of that there, all those bodies, including the Merkaba, until you can wrap your head around that, there's going to be so many mysteries. And there don't have to be so many mysteries. People just need to widen their lens and stop thinking that the physical body is so important. I believe that's going to happen now. Why? Well, I believe that one of the reasons that Trump has been so successful, and he deserves all the accolades, is because he has great advisors. But they're not humans. They call it the Galactic Federation. I believe that's probably accurate. I have the dolphins. So, what is my response to that? Well, I'm shifting my teachings and I'm going to go back to executive coaching and start to coach people into getting prepared to do business with aliens. I will only be teaching people that are going to use it in a way that's ethical. And you could say, well, how do you know that, Francis? Well, I don't know. I'm a psychic. And after I've turned over information, people will be able to do whatever it is that they want to do. But a lot of people will be weeded out and I just won't work with them. But it doesn't really matter because this is a planet of free will and they have the right to do that. But it is my intention to do the executive coaching on people that legitimately will use it with the intention of not controlling people's free will, which is the number one law of the planet. People have free will. If you want to be a bad person and murder people, God's going to let you do that. Free will. It's not nice, but that's not the point. The point is free will. Anyway, so I am shifting in my office everything. And I started with telepathy. I'm teaching telepathy. I also went, you know how I have said, and if you are not able to follow me, it's kind of okay. If you don't believe half of what I'm saying, that's okay too. This is an entirely new cycle on the planet. So it's not, I am not the problem. You're the problem. You're not up to speed, but it's okay. Widen the lens, listen, take it in, don't bank on it, and kind of let it float. And then you'll have more information and you'll put it there. You've heard enough that Trump works with the Galactic Federation. You look at the successes and you got to say, dang it, how's he managing that? Well, I'm telling you, a good counsel, advising that have an even wider lens. than any of us that are incarnated in the physical body at this moment. Oh, you don't believe in past lives? It's okay. The only person you're hurting is yourself. Leave everything with all those question marks. The kids that are born natural musicians, they sit at a piano at 3 years of age, and all of a sudden they can create music. You don't have an explanation for that. That and about 20,000 other things, you don't have an explanation for it. You meet somebody and it's all of a sudden like you were best friends, or it's like you knew them forever. Yeah, you did in another incarnation. But again, it's up to you. The pointing of fingers at people that are saying things that you're not familiar with and then laughing at them or thinking they're not so bright or they're wasting your time, you might want to slow down on that a little bit, because this new cycle is totally about what's going on in the other dimensions, and it has everything to do with a much wider lens. So don't be so busy judging, which brings me to the Bible. For months, I've been saying that the whole thing with Jesus Christ is ridiculous. Those stories don't hold water. Why have we believed them? And then we say we're a Christian country. What is a Christian? Well, let me tell you what it is that, according to the Ethiopian Bible, what it is that Jesus Christ commissioned um, the disciples to do. I always told you Jesus was a shaman. The first thing he said was heal the sick. That's shamanism. How many Christians do you know in all those big organizations that are collecting millions and billions of dollars that actually know how to do a healing? A healing, not sitting there with a little prayer. A healing. Very few. Well, they didn't pay attention to Christ, did they? The second thing Christ said was raise the dead. Well, if you don't believe in spirits, you're not going to be raising the dead. What does that mean? Jesus came to the planet to lead humans and spirits to the light. Spirits that died, they had a physical body, they died, and they didn't go to the light because they didn't die well. You should buy my book that's out called Your Astral Spirit. It'll change your life. Don't buy it. Don't fill yourself up with information from other dimensions. Don't do that. Power players are doing that. The US military mind control is totally based on the multidimensionality of human beings. But don't you learn about that? That's not right. You're fooling around with the devil. No, the devil's fooling around with you because you don't even really believe he exists. So, number 2, raise the dead. In my group, the Mantristas, there are several of them that when we get together and do different things, what they like doing is when they see the spirits hanging around that haven't gone off to the light, what they say, can we send them to the light, please? I said, of course. And I've told them that everybody has stuff that they're really good at or they enjoy doing. And there's many people in our group that enjoy taking the spirits to the light. And they do it in very efficient ways. They open up a tunnel and then they trolley on in. It's interesting and it's sweet. But that was a second thing that Jesus said you had to do. There were 5 things Jesus said you had to do. So far, my group, 2 totally on target. Cast out demons. We do that all the time. When you do a lot of the mantras, if you do the correct mantra, you can just feel your body moving. You just cast out a demon, just doing a properly worded mantra. Now, I'm not positioning the Mantrista movement to take over Jesus Christ or to say that anybody's Christ. Jesus was very clear on what he felt was important for planet Earth. And without even knowing it, my group is very clear as we worked mainly with our families initially, and we saw what was broken and what needed to happen to fix it. And we end up on the same page as Jesus Christ was saying, except it's not said so clearly in the Christian movement. You notice here there's no killing of people. There's none of that. 4, cleanse the lepers. I don't know what the modern day equivalent of that would be. The lepers have a skin condition. Skin is the sense organ associated with the heart. Not sure. And maybe, as the Buddha said, that fourth command to the disciples is maybe not contextually appropriate today, 2000 years ago, which is another thing. You have to be contextually appropriate. If you think that you're going to be able to compete, if you have a big company, you're going to be able to compete with the technology or whatever. It's not just technology, because Trump is not dealing with technology, he's dealing with politics. If you think that you're going to be able to be at the top or have any level of power without the extra information that you could have if you worked with the aliens, you are living an illusion. But that will soon be well established. But then you can blame it on something else. We're not going to go there. The last thing that Jesus said the disciples should do was preach the kingdom. Not quite sure what that means. But in terms of my group, we try to share, which is why I did the book, and now I'm going to get it translated, the Mantrista techniques, where we have all these very simple techniques that you can follow. I'm not trying to promote the book. I'm not trying to promote the movement, the Mantrista movement, which is not an organization. You don't have to ask anybody anything. It's just stuff that we learned that was effective, which ends up being what Jesus Christ was asking that his followers do. And it's been at least 2 years that I have called myself a galactic shaman. I was trained in shamanism, but I call myself a galactic shaman because I work with a lot of planet stuff. Anyway, I don't want to bore you. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to be doing executive coaching and training. I'm setting up the Fox protocols for alien interface. Not anywhere near as complicated as I thought. Which is going to be complicated is that the people that are used to paying for $10 for a purification or $50 for a class, when they see what it is that I'm going to charge for what it is that I'm setting up now, but that's okay. That's okay. I wanted to make what it is that I'm teaching available to as many people as possible. And whether they had money or not appropriate for this that I'm focusing on next, which is what can keep you not just afloat, but can keep you ahead of the crowd, on top of the crowd, in front of the curve, because you will be working with frequencies that are the ones that are going to be making all of the difference on the planet. And the whole thing has to do with that assemblage of bodies and you being so addicted to the body all the way on the left, which is the physical body. All of these are envelopes of consciousness, and they have different names. In Hinduism, the Hindi name is at the bottom. Kosa, K-O-S-A, means envelope. While you continue addicted to the physical body, you're going to have a very hard time competing. And while your advisor is still your banker, who at this point is trembling because they don't know what's going to happen to the market, or your psychologist that should have never been called a professional because they know nothing about emotions, and everything in psychological is emotional. The word emotion in the dictionary, the definition is to move out. If you dare to move out, express your emotions, not talk about them, express them in the psychologist's office, they're not going to allow that. That means you're losing control. No, you are processing. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to emote. You're not allowed to emote at home. You're not allowed to be emotional. So the word emotion, which is what our spirit is composed of, what you're supposed to be doing with them, we're not allowed to do. So let's get those psychologists and let's put them out to pasture. They've done a lot of damage to my reputation. Actually, the ones that worked with me did not do any damage to my reputation. It was what everybody else said. So we're not going to go there because it's really angering and there are going to be consequences. So I have a request. I am taking care of the clone thing, what the Vatican is trying to do to me, but I don't think they will give up. Now, the Vatican works like this with the Cuban cartel. The Vatican set up the largest sex trafficking program in 1960 with the Cubans by lying and saying that Castro was going to take the young people and put them to work in the fields, which is not such a bad thing. Contact with nature is great, but obviously modern people think that's god awful. I mean, what are your air conditioning? So the Vatican is not going to give up anytime soon. Now, a lot of those people in Operation Peter Pan, oh, a Disney character. When are you going to work on that, Trump? Get that whole thing revealed. So the Vatican was in control of Miami, has at least one major hospital that I am sure, well, I know for a fact that they do satanic rituals there. And they had all these organs in the refrigerators. And if they don't do organ trafficking, I would be really surprised. So you have all these hospitals that the Vatican is in charge with. Do you know who works with the ETs a lot? A lot forever? The Vatican. Now, the Vatican wants to get into Venezuela after all the work that we did to stabilize Venezuela and all the work that Trump has done to stabilize Venezuela and all the work that the Venezuelans have done to stabilize. The Vatican is into Venezuela in business suits. And you know from last week that I think the daughter of the duly elected president, she was threatened by somebody from the Vatican. And the Vatican is like all over there. And the vice president did go to the Vatican very recently with her 6 rosaries. We got to pay a lot of attention to that. What does the Vatican want in Venezuela? Take your thinking cap and throw it away. Just listen. And I've said it before here. The Vatican wants to be the lead in negotiating with the ETs that want to come into Venezuela to get the natural resources that they need for their spaceships. They know that's big money. So they're coming in business suits. They should not be anywhere near that. They actually shouldn't be near a single child on the planet. They shouldn't be, the rug needs to be pulled out from under them. Totally. I don't think they're going to be able to turn me into a clone, but I can bet you anything that they are as expert in cloning people as whoever the other groups are that are cloning people. The whole cloning thing, now that I understand what it is that they actually do in the other dimensions, okay? In the 90s, I was in the only group that ever existed in group therapy for 4 females that we were all 4 of us victims of military mind control in this country. And we were told that Bill Clinton was going to expose the military mind control program. Wow, we were so happy with that. Actually, I gave an event that was supposed to be coordinated with what he was bringing out. And the week of the event, it was at the Biltmore Hotel, 1996, I believe it was. 94, 96, I don't remember. The event is on YouTube. I was told, don't hold the event. We can't protect you. Bill Clinton's going down. And that's when they had the Monica Lewinsky thing. Why did they do that? They sent her in to take him down. They did take him down. Okay. And then apparently they took him down also, and Hillary Clinton having to do with cloning. That's why her body does so many strange movements. And that's why they are just not the same people. They're not the same people. But their envelope of consciousness in terms of their physical body is the same. If you look in their eyes, I'm sure it doesn't look the same, and their decisions are not the same. Their wisdom is not the same. But again, if you don't understand the envelopes of consciousness, and that's a concept from thousands of years ago, I did not create this. I didn't create those names in Hinduism. Those are thousands of years old. The concept and the reality of every human being has different envelopes of consciousness. So I was kind of happy when I figured out this whole thing with the cloning and the fact that they had halfway inserted into me this etheric body, which is this body, the second one from the left, which is the electric body. I was kind of happy because it means I wasn't wrong about the Clintons. They were okay. They were good people, were. And I would have been okay and good people if this had continued. Literally, this was stuck there. This envelope of consciousness from someone else, not mine. So I was kind of happy because I don't like to not have judged something so incorrectly. I didn't. So when you say they're a clone, it's a different whatever, it's accurate. But now we kind of know. And I'm sure the protocol for that is in the Lord's Prayer, where it says, "Deliver us from evil," which is the Greek version of the Lord's Prayer, which we were all taught. It doesn't say that in Aramaic, the original version. It says, "Help us to be in the present, not to disassociate." And if this had been inserted, had stayed inserted, and whatever being would have ended up seated in the chair, the control of my third eye, I would not have been in the moment because I am not my physical body. I am my spirit. My spirit would have been gone. And there would have been another spirit sitting there, which could be simply the devil. The devil is a spirit. Anyway, I'm not going to be able to sell you all of that right now. So Greenland is important because it's a portal to Middle Earth. Interesting. Mythology. Most of what I think that we see in mythology actually did happen, but we can't wrap our heads around it. I think that all archaeologists should be basically put in jail at this point. Why? They're holding back and have always held back the advancement of knowledge. Why am I saying that? Well, first place, they have a vested interest. They discover something, and then you can't have somebody discover something that disproves what they discovered. No. You get rid of that person that's coming with updated information. And right now, we're in Revelations. We're supposed to know everything. Anytime you can get a group of people that call themselves scientists, and they can continuously, in archaeological digs, find stuff that has to do with black magic rituals, and they dance around it, and they go, "We're not quite sure what this is. Maybe it was like some rituals." How many archaeological digs are you going to go to and continue to say that? How did those people? Oh, and here's the ending. The Vatican works with the bad ETs. Look at the power they've had. Yeah, they're going to lose it. I know that. We all know that. We just want them to lose it more quickly. The Nazis worked with aliens. That's how they got that technology, that when the war was over and England, Russia, and the United States went into Germany, they would, "Oh my God, look what they have." How did they achieve that? They had advisors. They had people, no, they had beings working with them that knew a lot more than they did. And they achieved technologies that were like, wow. the same as the Egyptians. They worked with ETs, and that's how they did all the stuff that they did. The thing with the ETs that they work with, though, were not great ETs. And at one point, certainly in terms of the Nazis, they pulled the rug out from under the Nazis, pulled away, and the Nazis couldn't hold up something that they had never really built themselves. So what do we learn from that? That there are bad ETs. And that if you're going to be aligning yourself with aliens, having to do with whatever it is that your intentions are, whether it's for your family or for your business, then you need to make sure that you're working with aliens that have intentions that are aligned with yours. Community, everybody being happy, being honest, all the rest of that. And that a lot of that has to do with frequency, which is something that is an accumulation of all these different energies. So I didn't even want to do this chat. I have certainly talked enough. So we will let you know when we have our courses ready for alien interface. And I suggest you buy my books. And you go, oh, how's this going to help me? You know what? Every single book of mine that you read is going to widen your lens, and it's going to slap you around a little bit. But it's what you need. And my training came from people whose bottom line was multidimensionality, which includes the US military mind control program, was multidimensional. That's why they were able to hop and skip and keep ahead of everybody, which they're still doing today. Okay? So be willing to be uncomfortable. Be willing to go into places that you're not quite sure what's going on. It can't hurt you. It's information. It can't hurt you. You're getting more mind control from TV programs and from news than you're going to get from my books. And I don't really I'm not trying to sell you my books. What I'm trying to say is you really need to get information on the multidimensional aspect of human beings so that you can take advantage of this cycle that we're in already, rather than being totally overwhelmed and left in the back of the bus because you're still hanging on to the physical body. Those aliens don't have physical bodies. So where are they functioning? How are they functioning? They have the energy bodies. So you need to let go of control. And you need to intend to align with this new era, age of Aquarius, golden age, and the integration of the human race with the galactic, what they call the galactic family. I think that sounds so cute. Okay, let's do it. And let's see what happens with Middle Earth. So I'm finished. As usual, I overtalked. I just have an awful lot to share. Okay, thank you for listening. And we'll be back, and hopefully we won't take quite as long before we get back to you again. It's getting tiring, but it's getting really interesting. And I'm really pleased with you. I'm really pleased with you.